Right now, we're seeing Donald Trump using his power to transform American culture in his own image. And there's a few ways that he's done that just this week, starting with the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Because every year, the center honors 5 individuals or groups for their lifelong contributions to the arts. It's a huge multi-day event, tons of people watch it on CBS, and it normally features dozens of fellow artists who commemorate the honorees with speeches and performances. Right, and a committee of previous honorees and prominent members of the arts community traditionally pick the honorees. But this year, the center appears to have broken with that tradition and gone with another process, which is just letting Donald Trump decide. Right, because today you had a reporter asking him how involved he was in selecting the honorees, and he answered,
I would say I was about 98% involved. No, they all went through me. I turned down plenty. They were too woke. I had a couple of wokesters.
And that, after he said at a Kennedy Center board meeting back in March, we'll go slightly more conservative if you don't mind, with some of the people in the past. I mean, these are radical left lunatics that have been chosen. I didn't like it, I couldn't watch it, and the host was always terrible. And Trump, notably, did not attend the honors during his first term. In fact, he was the only president in the center's 45-year existence not to go. And that because in 2017, Norman Lear skipped the ceremony that takes place at the White House to protest Trump. But now this way, you have Trump making sure that the event goes his way. With Trump back in February firing Biden's trustees and replacing them with his own, appointing a new director and making himself chairman. With then all of that bringing us to yesterday, where he posted on Truth Social that he would reveal great nominees for the Trump Kennedy Center, Kennedy Center Awards. And while that may sound like a joke, it also isn't. Right? Because last month, the Republican-led House Appropriations Committee actually voted to approve an amendment that calls to rename the Kennedy Center Opera House after Melania Trump. But then the next day, Representative Bob Onder introducing a bill to rename the entire Arts Center the Donald J. Trump Center for Performing Arts. And so today, you had Trump holding a press conference where he revealed the honorees, and he tried to play it off like he accepted the burden of hosting very begrudgingly.
I've been asked to host. I said, I'm the president of the United States. Are you fools asking me to do that? Sir, you'll get much higher ratings. I said, I don't care. I'm president of the United States. I won't do it. They said, please. And I didn't want to do it, okay? They're going to say, he insisted. I did not insist.
With Trump then announcing the honorees, starting with country music legend George Strait.
You're a good-looking guy. I hope he still looks like that. Michael Crawford is being honored. One of my favorite talents. I think he's one of the greatest talents I've ever actually seen. Sylvester Stallone, 3-time Oscar nominee, Golden Globe Award winner, an action movie icon, and a friend of mine. Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive is an unbelievable song. And finally, we'll be honoring one of the greatest rock bands of all time, Kiss. It's an honor to present Kiss. Thank you very much.
It's a big news for all of them, especially Stallone, who in the past compared Donald Trump to a second George Washington, which on the note of our 47th president, the second George Washington, he even suggested that someday he might honor himself.
I wanted one, I was never able to get one. This year, it's true, actually. And I said, the hell with it, I'll become chairman. And I'll give myself an honor. Maybe I'm going to honor, next year we'll honor Trump, okay?
Now again, while he sounds like he's joking, he did actually suggest at the March board meeting that the honor should be expanded to include executives, athletes, and politicians. But for now, Trump's just hosting the December event. And if it's anything like today's reveal, it's going to probably be half fancy gala, half political rally. Because he also just could not resist going off on tangents about Democrats, DC crime, tariffs, and similar topics before catching himself like this.
But I shouldn't make this political because they made the Academy Awards political and they went down the tubes. So they'll say, Trump made it political, but I think if we make it our kind of political, we'll go up, okay? Let's see if I'm right about that.
But all of that, it's just one way that Donald Trump is reforming American cultural institutions and his image. Because the White House just announced that it would be conducting what it called a comprehensive internal review of the Smithsonian to bring it in line with an executive order from March titled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. An order that accused the Smithsonian of coming under the influence of a divisive, race-centered ideology and promoting narratives that portray American and Western values as inherently harmful and oppressive, as well as the view that race is not a biological reality but a social construct. And so the White House says that this review aims to ensure alignment with the president's directive to celebrate American exceptionalism, remove divisive and partisan narratives, and restore confidence in our shared cultural institutions. Right, and then adding, within 120 days, museums should begin implementing content corrections where necessary, replacing divisive or ideologically driven language with unifying, historically accurate, and constructive descriptions. And to make sure that that gets done, Trump's people are going to be sticking their nose in everything. Right, they'll be looking looking at all public-facing materials, including placards, wall didactics, digital displays, social media content, pretty much anything that says anything. They're also requesting everything from grant-related documentation, budgets, and schedules to inventories of permanent holdings, staff manuals, and organizational charts. And then finally, they'll conduct on-site observations and interview curators and senior staff to, quote, better understand how they decide what to exhibit. And according to the White House, all of this is just phase 1, covering 8 of the Smithsonian's 21 museums. And then later on, phase 2 will expand the review to other museums as well. Now, with all that, the Trump administration's barnstorming may give off the impression that it has the authority over the Smithsonian, but it actually doesn't, at least not officially. Right? The Institute's day-to-day operations are run by a secretary who's appointed by an independent board of regents that broadly governs policy. And in June, the board said that it's committed to ensuring that it remains free from political or partisan influence. But not only did Trump's March executive order tie future federal funding to compliance, it said that Vice President J.D. Vance, who sits on the Smithsonian's board, would work with Congress to appoint new board members who were broadly in agreement with the order, which is then when weird shit started happening. Right? Like in May, Trump announced on Truth Social that he was firing the director of the National Portrait Gallery, saying she is a highly partisan person and a strong supporter of DEI, which is totally inappropriate for her position. But with that, Trump didn't actually have the authority to fire her, though it didn't matter in the end because she ended up resigning. Then in July, the artist Amy Sherald canceled her upcoming exhibition at the same gallery after a dispute over one particular painting of a trans woman with pink hair and a blue gown holding a torch, Statue of Liberty style, with her saying, while no single person is to blame, it's clear that institutional fear shaped by a broader climate of political hostility towards trans lives played a role. And then most recently, we found out that the National Museum of American History removed references to Trump's first-term impeachments following a review. And now the latest review also directs the Smithsonian to submit its plans to commemorate the country's 250th anniversary within the next 30 days. With that event scheduled for the next 4th of July, and we're already beginning to see how Trump's making a mark on that, because it's now been confirmed that the White House will host a UFC cage fight to mark the occasion, though it's a little unclear where it's going to happen since the fights usually take place in huge arenas with an octagon. But Trump has also previously suggested building a cage on the White House grounds and inviting as many as 25,000 attendees, which honestly, I think he may actually do. But it kind of lines up with a made-for-TV presidency, and there's just a lot that's going to be going on. In addition to the 250th anniversary, I mean, next year we're going to see the United States hosting the Olympics and the World Cup. So, a lot to keep our eyes on.